What's up, governor? Can playing the size game hurt your physique? It's a good point. I see a lot of people doing it. What's up, everybody? Coach Troy Brown, IFBB Pro, apexphysiques.ca. Today we're talking about something really important. We are talking about playing the size game. Can playing the size game hurt your physique? It's a good point. I see a lot of people doing it and not understanding really what health is really about. So let's look at this mass monster craze, right? I was very heavily influenced by it as I was up and coming through the ranks. And let's look at these mass monsters. We had Dorian Yates, the original mass monster from Birmingham, England, 6-time Mr. Olympia. Then we had Nasser El Sambadi, great physique from Yugoslavia. God rest his soul, he passed away. We also had people like Jean-Pierre Fuchs from Switzerland. He was also a mass monster. Marcus Rule, big Marcus Rule, got on stage with him once, got called out with him, big boy. And then we also have currently Big Ramy, right? Over 300 pounds. Massive quad sweep. And you might even add Gunter Scherkamp in there too. He's a big boy as well. But he had quite a pleasing physique. So my story and how the size game absolutely cost me in my career was when I did the Ironman Pro in 2008. Phil Heath, Gustavo Bedell, Tony Freeman, Troy Alves, Darren Charles, Johnny Jackson, King Kamali, just to name a few. Eddie Abu from England. What's up, governor? And we also had a lot of other high-level pros competing in this show. It was a big show, right? And I thought, this is it. I'm going to cross over. I'm going to put on all this size. Normally, I would compete around 200, anywhere between 227 to 230 was when I was pretty bang on the money. But this show, because I knew I was going overseas and I wanted to make a splash and get known and get my name out there and get exposure and become the next Dorian Yates from England, I decided to play the size game. I remember though, a year before that, me and Flex Lewis were at the booth, the Wader booth, the Ironman the year before in 2007. I can't remember who won. And I remember talking to Bob Ciccarello. He congratulated me for turning pro and he said to me, "You got nice shape, Troy. Don't play the size game." What did I do? Didn't listen to him. I thought I'm going to play the size game regardless, because I need to make an impact. So that year, my weight went up like crazy. I think I got up to like 275 pounds on a 5'6" frame. Didn't feel good. Stomach was very distended, eating tons of food, force feeding, you name it. I did whatever it took to put on that extra size. Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, I'd normally compete around 230 to 227 pounds. And this show, what did I do? I came in almost 250 pounds. Exactly. I was actually heavier than Phil Heath. I weighed in at 247 pounds on the dot on show day. Heaviest ever. And I remember looking back at the pictures now, my stomach was distended. I looked like crap, basically. I looked like shit. And I didn't even place that year. And I had a bitter taste in my mouth. Anyway, it was my own fault. I take full responsibility. I think that's a good man, will take full responsibilities for his actions. And if he doesn't, he blames other people. I wasn't in the blame game. But here's the point. What are the costs if you do play the size game? Well, let's look at it. To get big, you've got to eat big, right? We all know that. We've all done it. But shouldn't we do it strategically? Number two, you probably have to increase your PEDs, right? We all know the risk factors. You may even have to do insulin, which I don't recommend anybody that watches my material does. I did it for that show. Big mistake. Number three would be that you would get big maybe too quickly. That's exactly what happened to me. And what happens is it gives false pretenses. I think you are carrying excess water that your body doesn't want. And you look bloated, you look distended, your face is a little bit puffy, even though you're supposed to be show ready. Number four would be that you are... Let's face it, you're jeopardizing your health basically, right? When you're trying to put on all this size very, very quickly. Number five would be you're gonna force feed. Even if you're trying to put on a little bit of size, there is some force feeding involved. But for me that year, I think I was probably eating in an excess anywhere over 7,000 calories, anywhere between 7,000 and 8,000 calories a day. And there were times where it would take me hours just to eat one meal because my body just didn't want it. It would reject it. Number six is a big one. Stomach distension. We see it a lot, right, in bodybuilding. when I was up and coming, we had a lot of guys. I'm not going to name anybody because I did it too. And I hold my hands up. I had a distended stomach when I did the Ironman in 2008 in LA. So that distended stomach for me is not, looking back, is not really what bodybuilding's about, right? So the force feeding can definitely hurt you if you are a competitor. And even though you may have a six-pack, you still have that distension because all that food is just pushing against the intestines. And lastly, number 7, it's going to affect your energy levels. For me, when I was that big, 275 pounds on this 5'6" frame, it's a lot of weight to carry around, and very tired. I was training clients all day, didn't have energy. You're on caffeine. You're basically knocking back caffeine. You're taking EA stacks, ephedrine and caffeine stacks, just to keep your energies up so you can get through the day. And that's going to affect your adrenals as well. On top of that, you just want to save energy. You just don't want to do anything. You don't want to move. I think the only time you really want your energy to be productive is when you're training. Energy levels are going to be affected inside and outside of the gym. Now, you need to understand something. You need to understand that you need to know what your strengths are before you look at playing the size game. You need to look at your physique and say, well, can my physique hold another 20 pounds? Can all that extra weight be evenly distributed over your physique? Know what your strengths are. Are you more of a pleasing physique shape, or are you more of a guy that looks big in clothes? You know, the structure is very, very important. I look at it, there's 2 types of physique. You got one guy that's a mass monster that carries a lot of weight on his frame. And then you got number 2, the opposite would be sort of more of a pleasing physique, if you will, more of a aesthetically pleasing physique. Somebody like Dexter Jackson, Sean Ray, Lee Labrada, just to name a few. Maybe you would throw Chris Bumstead in there as well. So in conclusion, as we wrap this up, let's look at physiques. I've already mentioned physiques that didn't play the size game, that were very smart. I wish they would have mentored me. We already mentioned them. Dexter Jackson, Sean Ray. You would maybe throw Flex Wheeler in there. Chris Cormier maybe as one of them as well. They all had nice flat stomachs. Lee Labrada, Bob Paris. My idol, Sean Ray. Never really got too heavy in the off-season. They'd probably be 20, maybe 25 pounds over competition weight. So when they decided to diet down for their show, it was very, very easy for them. So for me, going from 275 pounds the off-season, having to come down to 245, that was really, really hard on my body. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a very, very hard process. That year, that was a struggle trying to get in shape, but I was still off anyway. So in summary, can playing the size game affect your physique? I really believe it can. I believe that you need to think about your next move, and you need to think about it from, you need to get a bird's eye view of what you're doing on a daily basis. You need to look at your training. You see, what one thing I found is that when I was trying to put on all that size, and it gave me false pretenses on the scale because I didn't give myself enough time. I believe if you really want to put on some solid muscle, you need to do it over a 2-year period. That way it's going to be done strategically, and you're not going to go, for example, from 3,500 calories to 5,000 calories. You want to do it in small bumps. That's what the body likes. Same thing with the resistance in the gym. When you're training in the gym, you want little micro bumps in load. What I did is I did big movements. Unfortunately, big deadlifts, big bent over rows, heavy squats, heavy leg presses, heavy hack squats. And what I found was my stomach was always being pushed out, if that makes sense. So it caused my stomach to distend. And that was a problem. So looking back, what I should have done is not ate as much and maybe came in really tight, really ripped and shredded. And that may have allowed me to place even higher. I don't know. Easy to say right now, easier said than done. So playing the size game will hurt your physique. Think about your training intelligently. Pick the right movement patterns that fit your structure. Make sure that you're chewing your food. You are in a calm, relaxed state when you're eating. You're not just walking around gobbling food down in between clients like I used to do. I probably wouldn't even chew my food. I would literally just swallow it because I had another client 5 minutes later. I'd realize now I would sit down, calm myself down, chew my food properly, so that way that all that food can be digested accordingly, and then I can go about my day. You've got to do your time, guys. You really have to do your time. Don't be afraid of giving yourself 2 years to do this. You see, you can do this with PEDs, or you can do this naturally, whatever way you want to go. If you go the PED route, you need to make sure, number one, that you're training even harder. Number two, you need to make sure that you are eating well and you're putting even more attention to your nutrition, because I think a lot of guys think that when they're on their PEDs, they can cut corners, they can shade things off a little bit because they rely on the drugs too much. I think that's a recipe for disaster. That will not serve you. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you got some value from this video. If you like what you heard, please like, please share with others, leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you, my friend, on the next video. What's up, governor?